what card choices I have in my Abzan Greasefang deck, and how to play the deck overall and the overall strategies and stuff. Let's do it. You'll notice that this is the Traverse the Ulvenwald version of Greasefang. And I want to talk about that for a second versus the Stitcher Supplier version. The Traverse the Ulvenwald version cuts Stitcher Supplier and like a Can't Stay Away for 3 Traverse the Ulvenwald and a Vessel of Nascency. The idea is Traverse the Ulvenwald allows you to search for any creature or land if you have Delirium instead of a basic land card. So you're able to have like a pseudo-endless supply of Greasefangs because you have all these other ways to get Greasefangs as well, that once you mill some cards, have Delirium, then you can just search out Greasefang and keep doing your thing. This is helped by Vessel of Nascency, which effectively does a Grizzly Salvage effect for a total of 3 mana, but also puts an enchantment in your graveyard. So it allows you to look at the top 4, grab an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land, normally Greasefang, hopefully Greasefang, put it into your hand, and then it goes to graveyard as well. So it contributes a lot to Delirium. So you get Delirious, and then you cast Traverse the Ulvenwald and be able to cast more Greasefangs. So this versus the Stitcher Supplier version, the Stitcher Supplier version is probably more consistent to get the like original Greasefang and kind of nut hand them. But this version allows you to kind of grind with your opponent because you can just like continually get Greasefang after Greasefang after Greasefang. Eventually they can't answer one, and then you win. But let's talk about the deck overall rather than like what version we're playing of the deck. I'll do some sorting. So here's kind of the different categories of the deck. We already talked about Traverse the Ulvenwald and Vessel of Nascency. But let's talk about the combo as a whole. The whole point of the Greasefang deck is to put one of these vehicles in your graveyard. These are some of the most powerful vehicles in the format. In Parhelion, that it is a 5/5 that when it attacks, it gets 2/4/4 angels are also attacking with it, and then the angels stay. Sky Sovereign, when it enters the battlefield, deals 3 damage to a creature or planeswalker, and when it attacks, it deals 3 damage to a creature or planeswalker. And Asika's Chariot, which creates 2/2/2 green cat creature tokens, and then you can copy a token whenever you attack with it. These are all extremely powerful, so we put one of these in our graveyard, and then we cast Greasefang. Greasefang says, at the beginning of combat in your turn, return target vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of your next end step. So you cast Greasefang as early as turn 3, target a vehicle in your graveyard, hopefully Parhelion, but the other 2 are fine. It returns to the battlefield, you crew it, and then attack with it, and then it returns to your hand. Normally, if you do this with Parhelion, it deals so much damage and leaves 2/4/4 white angels behind that the game is probably over. Sky Sovereign, it probably means they don't have a creature and or planeswalkers. And Asika's Chariot, it puts you way ahead on midrange. What's funny about it is the stuff returning to your hand as the Greasefang thing is supposed to be a drawback, but it's only a drawback for Parhelion. Sky Sovereign, it means you can get the end of the battlefield effect again when you cast it, and Asika's Chariot means you get the end of the battlefield effect again when you cast it. You get 2/2/2/2 more cats. And so that's where we're at with that. What's cool about Asika's Chariot and Sky Sovereign as well is that you have that mid-range strategy. There are both very good mid-range cards that are played in other decks as a mid-range card. And so very often, if they deter your initial aggro, you get to cast one of these vehicles and kind of go for the mid-range plan. Now, there's a couple ways that we get cards in our graveyard. Vessel of Nascency is one of them, which we already talked about. Witherbloom Command, a mode on Witherbloom Command, which we'll come back to Witherbloom Command, is milling 3 cards and returning a land. And our best card to put cards in our graveyard, besides the draw discard stuff, is Grizzly Salvage. Grizzly Salvage, we have 2 mana instant, so we get to leave mana up. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library and put a creature or land card from among them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard, which allows us to look at the top 5, grab normally Greasefang, but sometimes other stuff. Other stuff goes to our graveyard, which is hopefully a vehicle. The other way we put things into our graveyard is this pile, right? So we have Liliana the Veil. Obviously, the plus, we discard a vehicle and then can reanimate it, is very good. It's also very good in controlling our opponent's hand and making them sacrifice creatures and things like that. Rafine's Informant, allowing us to draw and discard a card, hopefully drawing a card and getting a vehicle out of our hand that we don't want in there. And being a 3/2 for 2, which is already like fine. And Scrapwork Mutt, which is effectively Rafine's Informant number 5. And we run Mana Confluence and the ability to unearth it. So that's how we get stuff into the graveyard. Right, we've talked about being able to select Greasefang off of Grizzly Salvage, Vessel of Nascency, even drawing cards off for Fiend's Informant and Scrapwork Mutt, plus naturally drawing it as well. We've talked about being able to get Greasefang with Traverse the Ulvenwald because we have Delirium, because of the artifacts and enchantments and lands and all that stuff. And we understand the combo, but we also have some support cards. Support cards obviously start with Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize is amazing, especially in a combo deck being able to play Thoughtseize. Not only can you disrupt your opponent's plan, but you can stop their disruption for your plan. Right on turn 1, which is normally before we're actually casting anything besides Vessel of Nascency. We're playing 1 Can't Stay Away. Can't Stay Away is for that long grindy game, or if we're in a situation where we put a Greasefang into the graveyard, we want to reanimate for 2 mana. You get to return a creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains if the creature would die, exile it instead, which means you get to reanimate Greasefang, or like sometimes one of these other cards, but you're kind of sad if you use that for it. And Witherbloom Command, which have a bunch of modes. All the modes aren't very good, but being able to choose two and like having a lot of different like choices for this is like pretty good. Like the versatility of this card outweighs the not powerfulness of this card. So this first mode, target player mills 3 cards and return a land card from your graveyard to your hand. It's a great mode because we can mill those cards, hopefully mill a vehicle, and be able to hit our land drops. Second mode, destroy target non-creature, non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less. Very good against Rest in Peace or other weird stuff, maybe Unlicensed Hearse, things like that. Target creature gets a -3/-1 till end of turn, being able to stop that aggro and whatnot. And target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life, which is always good, even if you only want to do one of the other modes. And so that is our Greasefang deck. The lands are pretty straightforward. It's just the colors, playing a Takenuma and a Boseiju, and 1 mana confluence, mostly to be able to bring back Scrapwork Mutt and make sure we have good mana. Because remember, we're a combo deck. It's okay if we lose life. And our sideboard is pretty straightforward as well. Duress for those non-creature spells we're afraid of and control. Fatal Push for aggro. Raven Feeblement for like mono white and the mirror match and things like that. Liliana the Veil when we need to control our opponent's hand or need more things to control our opponent's board. A Vanishing Verse just as an additional removal spell that can also hit Rest in Peace. Night of Autumn as artifact or enchantment hate, also the ability to gain life and to have a body behind. Damping Sphere for like Lotus and mono green, and Unlicensed Hearse for those graveyard strategies like the mirror match. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social medias, links are above me and in the description, especially on Twitch where I stream most nights. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.